It just sunk all over again. Alright, well, we're gonna have to go. We're gonna have to deal with it. This is such a great way to start the show. Alright. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Welcome in. My name is Garrett Shumake. You are watching the Shumake Take. This is episode 4, and today we're going to be covering my top 10 running backs in the NFL draft coming in this year. And we got a couple things. First, we got to do a couple housekeeping. I got to make a couple opening statements. First and foremost, these. So I've realized that the clip-on mic, the audio is too inconsistent. So I decided that, you know what? Hey, because I have a microphone for my PC, and I couldn't get it to work on my phone, because I guess I need like an audio jack converter. That's like a USB Type-C to audio jack converter, whatever. But it didn't work. And so I figured out that I can use my gaming headphones, connect the microphone to the camera, not really connect to the camera, but have it set to where the microphone is this microphone right here. So I look like a pilot right now. And I look like I'm flying in a plane. And I'm telling people, if you look out here to your right, you can see the Grand Canyon. Like that's what I sound like. And I know the audio quality is probably not going to be that great. It's not going to be very crisp. But I'm hoping it's going to sound more consistent, and that's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to move this back just a tad. And I will have to be careful about how loud I get. But I think we'll be okay. Like I said, it's going to be consistent. Another thing, too, is at the time of this recording, it is 4 minutes until 8 o'clock p.m. I have been up for officially 36 hours. I have not slept in over a day. So I am very, very tired. It took me over 2 hours to do what I'm about to do today for this breakdown and for future running or NFL draft breakdowns. So I decided that I wanted to go above and beyond. And instead of just looking at me the whole time while I'm talking about these running backs and breaking everything down, I have graphics made. So as I'm talking about each running back, I'm going to throw them up on the screen where there's going to be numbers, statistics for you to look at. So it's better for a visual audience. So now if you want to actually watch my content and enjoy it, you don't get to see my face that much, unfortunately. Sorry. But you have a more interactive experience for watchers. And if you're just a listener, then by all means, this doesn't affect you. But, well, no, it does. The mic is going to be more consistent. Hope it sounds good. I wonder, once in post, when I'm editing everything, which is going to be a pain in the butt, maybe I can make the quality a little better. But we'll see. But without further ado, we got to get into it. So here we go. The top 10 running back prospects in the 2024 NFL Draft. Starting with number 10, we got Isaac Guerendo out of Louisville. 6 foot, 221 pounds, 23 years old. If you look there on the bottom, his stats from last year, 810 yards, 11 rushing touchdowns, 6.7 yards per carry. And the big summary here, so how I'm going to break it down. The summaries got a little bigger. Well, no, they got a lot bigger. I decided to put a lot more thought and effort into them. Not that I didn't put thought and effort into the quarterbacks, but I really did go the extra mile for the running backs and so on. And it will be like this from so on for the other positions remaining in the draft. So when we look at Isaac Guerendo, the transfer out of Wisconsin, he is an ascending running back prospect who was finally able to get enough carries to show what he's really capable of. He is built like a prototypical Badger runner, and he's thick, well-proportioned frame. He was a much more decisive runner in 2023, but his cut-and-go burst is fairly average. He's not sudden, but runs with appropriate elusiveness, using subtle sides. Wait, did I read that right? He's not sudden, but he does run with appropriate elusiveness, using subtle sidesteps to continue the run's downhill momentum, and he can also catch out of the backfield a little bit and also protect his quarterback, which makes him a suitable 3-down backup. Guerendo's size, skill set, and demeanor are built for an NFL workload, and he can sneak into a bigger role in the future if he can continue to develop and progress. So first, we got to get down into these strengths. And what I like here, I have number 1, is his suddenness off the line of scrimmage and accelerates quickly, and his top end speed is one of the best in the draft. For a guy with his size and frame, his speed is really good. You can tell he's a really good athlete. It jumps off the tape, and you can see right here in his footwork, once he plants it, it's immediately go, boom, moving. His explosive moving up field, it's just instantly go, 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 and his 0 to 60 acceleration is enough to catch defenses off guard. And I just repeated myself here. He accelerates 0 to 60, and he hits top speed fast enough to outrun angles. He's also flexible and agile, able to keep the pedal to the floor as he turns and weaves, which is really good, especially when you're able to keep your momentum in and out of your cuts. That right there, in the name of Chris Collinsworth on Madden 11, that's the difference in a great running back. Not saying he's going to be great or he will be great. We'll talk about that in a rant later. I might end up moving it. Might end up moving it to tomorrow. But either way, that's very special. It's a very special ability. He's also a very good blocker on the outside, which also helps add value in the running game. Maybe if you get like a split backfield, that's very useful. And of course, he has good size and speed, and he's a very good competitor. You can tell that he fights for extra yards. You can tell that he wants to get every single yard he can, and he's a fighter. He's tough. And you like that for someone that's his size and really use that to his advantage. And also, he's capable as a receiver. He's a really good weapon I've seen on swing passes and also in the screen game. And his receiving game for me is not like top tier. Like, it's not great, but it's good and it works. And it definitely can catch defenses off guard if they're not prepared for it. Probably heard me adjust my glasses. But now we got to get into some of the weaknesses, some of the downsides of his game. So Guerendo could stand to get smaller when squeezing through traffic. He doesn't really lower his shoulders as often and as much as I'd like him to. So definitely, like, he doesn't straight up like run upright, like straight up like he's standing up all the time. But definitely, like, as he's going through and hitting a really tight hole or trying to hit a tight window, definitely he could make him compress himself a little bit and make that a little bit easier and make it harder for defenders to bring him down. But also, despite his size, he's not as physically imposing as you'd think he'd be made out to be. He does have a smaller frame, and there's not much more weight he could carry. And while he is really good in and out of his cuts, he's not exactly an elusive guy. He's not going to be a guy that's going to juke out a defender or pop a spin move and break somebody's ankles. We already talked about this. He's more of an upright runner when going through traffic, and that makes it easier for tacklers to bring him down. And when it comes to draft placement, I see him going as a day 3 guy, about mid day 3. And I think he'd fit best in more of a run first offense like Baltimore, Philadelphia, Indianapolis. While he can be a good receiver out of the backfield, I think he's a much better runner for sure. And I think that's where he could go, where he could maybe not sit, but he could take a lesser role like running back 2 or 3, develop and maybe progress into a 1. Moving on, we got to go to number 9, and we got Ray Davis out of Kentucky. 5'8", 211 pounds, 24 years old. Last year had 1,129 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5.7 yards per carry. And this is a guy that you're getting that is a very good example of plug and play. Probably the best plug and play player out of all the running backs in this draft class. His time in college has really honed his skills to a level where he can really step into an NFL backfield and immediately contribute. The key strengths in his game are his vision and his footwork. He's not a back that relies on dazzling moves, but rather very decisive, and he's very efficient. And his ability to also absorb contact and churn out extra yards when needed, despite not being a powerhouse, adds value to his north-south running style. The concerns with Davis lie in his physical ceiling. He doesn't possess the kind of burst or top-end speed that separates elite backs here in the NFL and also other backs in this draft class. And this limitation might relegate him to a more support role rather than a primary back. His change of direction skills are adequate for a player of his build, but he won't be making defenders miss in the open field regularly. In the passing game, he's solid, but he's not spectacular. His receiving skills are dependable, and he's shown to pick up blitzes, though his technique and pass protection needs sharpening. To conclude, Ray Davis is what you see. What you see is what you get. He's a very dependable 3-down back who could be a cog in an NFL offense from day one. He's not going to be the centerpiece, but his versatility and experience, especially in pass protection and as a receiver out of the backfield, make him a valuable mid-round pick. Age and mileage are some concerns, but he's got the build and the mentality of a pro. I expect Davis to carve out a role quickly in the league, likely exceeding his draft position's expectations. I really like Ray Davis, and doing research on him, I mean, all this stuff, especially the plug and play, like I can't emphasize enough his plug and play ability. Because Ray Davis, he is a guy who I believe as a rookie, he can come in and have 1,000 scrimmage yards. Very similar to like a Tajay Spears. Not in play style, but a guy you pick somewhere around the middle of the draft. Well, Tajay Spears was a 3rd round pick. But a guy you pick and he immediately, you can put him in and he will produce really, yeah, he'll produce for you. Getting into his more specific strengths, powerful running style. He's effective in breaking tackles and gaining yards after contact. He has very good vision and patience in identifying rushing lanes. He's a reliable pass catcher with solid route running capabilities. He maintains a low center of gravity for better balance and stability. It's what helps him make a very decisive runner. Decent acceleration and burst through gaps. While it's not top end, it's still good enough to hit the hole and really attack a secondary. He won't be breaking the back of a defense, but he definitely can gash for about 20 yards and definitely shift momentum in his offense's favor. He's very resilient and durable. He can handle a substantial workload, I believe. And that versatility, his ability to catch out of the backfield, his ability to pass protect, of course, his natural really good ability as a runner, allows him to fit into a lot of different offensive schemes in the league. And also, he had 14 touchdowns last year. And if I remember correctly, he had double-digit touchdowns last year as well. And he's a proven ability to find the end zone. So I expect him very, very early on to be a goal line back, in my opinion. But I think he'd be a good one at that. But some of his weaknesses, I already touched on it, but he lacks a top-tier breakaway speed, which will limit big play ability. While his pass protection is solid, it does need improvement, especially against the blitz. He easily gets overwhelmed. It can easily get beat. And he can really put his quarterback in a bad situation. And he relies more on his power than finesse, which can be more challenging against NFL defenses, especially because when you get to the NFL, it's just faster, it's tougher, it's more physical. And while he does have some finesse, like I say here, he definitely needs to up that finesse a little bit. Because relying strictly on power in the NFL, unless you're the size of Derrick Henry, it's not going to work. You're going to get hit a ton. It might lead to injury. You got to be able to have a good balance of the two. Especially because he's a smaller guy as well. And going more of that finesse, when it comes to being in the open field, his agility and his elusiveness is not that great. It could be better when he's in the open field. And then being at Kentucky, it's kind of weird, but the limited exposure to top-tier competition. Well, yes, he played in the SEC. At the same time, he didn't play against many of the top teams in the SEC. So it does make you question a little bit about his NFL transition. But personally, this doesn't bother me at all. If you're a running back, you play in the SEC, and you have 14 touchdowns, you have 1,000 yards on the ground, I think you're going to be fine. I just put this here because it's a common concern that people have. So I figured I might as well address it. But as for draft placement, I think he's going to be an early day 3 pick. Probably in the high 4th round. I mean, obviously that's early day 3, so sure, why not? But definitely, and he can go to any team that honestly needs a running back too. And he can fit. We talked about the versatility. He can fit in any offense. So if your team needs a second running back, by all means, pick this guy up in the later round, in the 4th. And you got yourself a guy that's going to contribute right away, I believe. Next up, we got to get to, hold up one second. We got to get to the Wisconsin Badger, the actual Wisconsin Badger, Braelon Allen. 6'1", 235 pounds. He's 20 years old. Last year, he had 984 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, 5.4 yards per carry. Braelon Allen enters the NFL draft as a physical force out of Wisconsin, With a profile that screams traditional power back, like other running backs before him at Wisconsin, his college tape shows a back who thrives between the tackles, leveraging with a blend of size and power that's become increasingly rare in today's game. Allen's ability to absorb hits and continue churning for extra yards fits the mold of a bruising runner capable of wearing down defenses. On the flip side, Allen's shortcomings in the passing game and his pass protection skills are areas of concern for a league that favors three-down backs. His limited route tree and below-average pass blocking could pigeonhole him into more situational role, particularly in offenses that lean heavier on their backs in the passing game. Despite these limitations, Allen's physicality and success in the short yardage situations should not be underestimated, as they provide valuable tools for teams looking to establish a ground and pound identity. Ultimately, Allen's transition to the NFL will hinge on finding a team that values his strengths and can mitigate his weaknesses. His potential to contribute as part of a running back committee, especially in a short yardage and goal line situation, could make him a very valuable asset. While he may not fit the mold of a modern, versatile NFL running back, Allen's toughness and tenacity promise to bring a hard-nosed physical dimension to any backfield. And looking at some of his strengths here, we already talked about the rare combination of size and strength. He can handle a high volume of carries, and he really is like the guy. He will carry the ball 20, 30 times a game for you, and he can do that. You can do that, week in and week out. And as a runner, he's very, very good. He excels in contact balance. He's really good with his power. He can break tackles very easily, gain extra yards, does it often. He possesses really good vision and decisiveness, quickly identifying and exploiting running lanes. And he shows surprising agility for his size. His ability to navigate through tight spaces, tight windows. And he's adept at using his body and pass protection as a reliable check-down receiver. He brings ultimately he brings a no-nonsense style to the running game, consistently that moving the chains. And he also has the building mentality of a goal line back, effectively plowing through defenders. And he can contribute on passing downs, albeit in a very limited capacity. So some of his weaknesses: behind the line, his agility suffers. It impacts his ability to avoid initial contact. Of course, his receiver, very limited route tree, reducing his threat in the passing game and lowering his versatility as a player. And his technique and pass protection also needs refinement to really maximize his effectiveness. And one thing that really, really concerns me is his tendency to carry the ball away from his body, which in the NFL, that's going to lead to a ton of fumbles. But at the same time, a coach is going to fix that. Give it time. I don't think that's going to be a big, big issue once he gets to the NFL. Another guy here where I think he's going to, where I'm going to place him, another guy that I think who goes early day 3, but it would not surprise me if the right team goes around and really hits him near the end of day 2. So near the end of the 4th. No, I just mentioned it earlier. I talked about, day 3, 4th round. Nope, 4th round's at the end of day 2. So when it comes to guys like Ray Davis, Isaac Guerendo, these are guys that will go 5th round. But they could go in the 4th. I would not be surprised if Ray Davis went in the 4th, honestly. But we finished talking about him. Ooh, I had to catch my breath. Yeah, Braelon Allen, very tough, physical back, and I think he will go early day 3. Next, we got Audric Estime, probably Estime, out of Notre Dame. If I butchered that, I am sorry, but either way, 5'11", 221 pounds, 20 years old. Last year had 1,341 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6.4 yards per carry. Very productive year for the Notre Dame back. And he's a prototypical power back, just like Braelon Allen, ideal for a ground and pound offensive scheme. His tape shows a back with the physicality to break tackles and consistently make positive yardage, even in goal line situations. Estime's north-south running style and ability to churn out tough yards between the tackles make him a reliable option on early downs and in clock management scenarios. However, his limited burst and top-end speed restrict his ability to stretch plays outside or break off long runs, especially against more athletic NFL defenses. His vision and patience in finding attacking lanes are very noteworthy, but there is a tendency for him to over-rely on these traits, leading to some hesitation and missed opportunities. Estime's lateral agility, while sufficient, does not currently extend to making him a dual threat in the backfield. His pass catching and route running are areas for some big development in the hope that he can transition into a more versatile person. player. Jesus Christ. Estime is best suited for a rotational role in a committee backfield, in my opinion. Bringing a physical downhill style, his frame and skill set show potential in pass protection, but it is an area needing of refinement, especially on third down. Ball security has been a concern, and it needs to be tightened up to avoid turnovers to the next level, but overall, Audric Estime is a downhill bruiser with a straightforward approach, offering immediate value as a traditional back that's able to grind out those tough yards. Getting here into more of these specific strengths, Estime's robust physique and leg strength enable him to break through arm tackles and create his own running lanes. He demonstrates excellent patience between the tackles and swiftly attacks even narrow gaps. He also falls forward on contact, consistently gaining positive yardage, which you'd love to see in a power back, and the ability just to, his size alone just gains free yards. He does show bursts of impressive lateral agility, complementing his power running style. His ability to quickly change tempo and gain speed can surprise defenses, especially at the second level. He also displays good contact balance, adept at spinning off or bouncing from soft contacts. And his running style is very efficient, maximizing the yardage without unnecessary moves. Lastly, he has the build and the skill set suitable for pass protection roles if developed properly. For some of his weaknesses, he does lack that extra gear to consistently create space in the secondary. Kind of like, I think it was like Ray Davis. He doesn't have that backbreaker speed. He doesn't have that last gear that can really take the top off of a defense and gash them for a long touchdown run. But also his running style, it is very short, choppy, and it harms the breakaway speed a little bit. Although it's kind of hard to diss it when it's worked so well, but it does limit his ceiling, I think. Ultimately, occasionally he will be overly patient behind the line, which allows defenses to really get in there and get in the backfield, disrupt the play. And as a route runner and pass catcher, he needs to be better if he wants to be a 3-down back. But I don't see him as a 3-down back. I think I see him more as a power runner and a more rotation-based offense or rotation committee. His ball security, we already talked about that concern, and a lot of fumbles in key games. And while he's built for pass protection, of course, he needs further skill development. I think he's going to be a very late day 2 pick and probably early day 4. I think he's going to go in the late 4th round, give or take. But I think he's a more polished version of Braelon Allen, in my opinion. When it comes to running the football, he is good. He's very efficient. So what he does good, he is very great at. While he could see some improvement in other areas to make him more versatile and make him a more complete football player, he's definitely a guy that you can plug and play if you're a running football team and you can get production out of. Next up is MarShawn Lloyd out of USC, the Trojans. 5'9", 220 pounds, 23 years old. Last year, 820 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, 7.1 yards per carry. So very, very explosive back. And the big thing about his ability, of course, the explosiveness, but it's distinguished by his burst, agility, and open field speed. His capacity to shift gears and navigate through traffic makes him a constant threat, capable of turning a routine play into a highlight reel touchdown. However, his transition to the NFL will require sharpening of his vision and decisiveness in hitting the holes. On the flip side, concerns about Lloyd's ball security and pass protection loom as significant areas for improvement. His tendency to carry the ball loosely has led to fumbles, a liability that NFL defenses will exploit for sure. Additionally, his relative inexperience in pass protection poses questions about his ability to be an every down back, especially in pass-heavy offenses where blitz pickup is valued as the ability to catch out of the backfield. Ultimately, as he steps into the NFL, his blend of athleticism and raw talent presents an intriguing option for teams looking to add a dynamic element to their backfield. While his collegiate career showcased the heights of his potential, the rigorous demands of the pro game will test his capacity. I expect MarShawn Lloyd to be able to make an immediate impact that has a potential start early in his pro career. MarShawn Lloyd, I could make the argument he has a top 3 ceiling in this draft class for running backs because he is a very raw talent, but it's clear that he needs a ton of work. But if he can go to the right team, He can really make it work, really make it happen. And getting into his specific strengths, we talked about him a little bit already, but the exceptional acceleration and burst, enabling rapid transitions through different levels of the defense. He poses a constant threat with his long speed capability, turning any play into a touchdown. He displays impressive stop-start explosiveness, making him adept at evading defenders in open space. He possesses untapped potential in the passing game, demonstrated through limited yet impactful receptions. He exhibits remarkable lateral agility and a strong sense of balance, allowing for effective vision of oncoming tacklers. His football IQ is very high, evident in his ability to quickly identify blitzers and execute effective pass protection strategies. He does demonstrate good contact within balance and strength, often advancing through hits and evading tackles. And he shows a commitment to running assignments, particularly in inside zone plays, highlighting his anticipation for emerging opportunities. But some of his weaknesses here, another running back here that has a high upright rushing style that can detract from balance and power, and especially the NFL, tacklers will eat that alive. They will smack you down. And his vision, very inconsistent, sometimes below average. Needs to improve on seizing immediate running lanes more decisively, just picking the hole, seeing it, and going. And he does lack experience and proficiency in pass protection. Although he's a very smart player, technically he's not very technically sound when it comes to pass protection. So he definitely needs to get that worked on if he wants to be a 3-down back in the NFL. Ball security, of course, is another issue that he has. He's also another guy that carries the ball loosely. And also, he'll occasionally seek to bypass assigned gaps for a larger gain, a strategy that may prove to be less effective against NFL defenses which are more disciplined. But overall, I think that he's a guy with very high ceiling. MarShawn Lloyd, I think, is going to go into the 3rd round. And for his best fits, I think he can fit anywhere. His dynamic ability allows him to go to any football team where he can get the ball in his hands. But definitely, I think he's going to be more of a pure, I don't say he's a pure runner. But while he has the potential to be a good pass catcher out of the backfield, I think he'd flourish more if he can really hone in on his running ability and be a guy similar to, kind of somewhat similar to James Cook, but maybe more as a pure runner. Next, we're getting into the top 5. We have Bucky Irving out of Oregon. 5'9", 192 pounds, 21 years old. 2023, he had 1,180 yards, 1,180 yards, my bad. 11 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per carry, and he also tallied 56 receptions for 413 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the big thing here is he's very elusive, very quick, and he is the best receiver, running back receiver. He has the best receiving ability out of anybody in this draft class. He has very exceptional ability, like I just talked about, to elude tackles. He can slip through defenses. It sets him apart. Irving's lower center of gravity not only provides excellent pad leverage, but also allows him to absorb and shrug off tackles while keeping his momentum. This combination of agility and balance is rare and makes him a very unique prospect to me. And I just talked about his receiving skills, and it's more than just your traditional back. His utilization in Oregon's passing game highlights his versatility, displaying very soft hands and usually good route running. However, his pass protection and performance in short yardage situations are serious areas for improvement. While his initial burst is impressive, there are concerns about his long speed endurance, and seen in instances where he's been caught from behind in open field situations. Nevertheless, his vision, creativity, and ability to find hidden yardage are undeniable strengths. Bucky Irving may not fit the mold of a high-volume every down back because of his size, but with a well-designed role within a dynamic backfield, he could offer substantial value to an NFL team looking for a versatile inventive running back. In this right here, pro comp for me are going to bring him up again, Tyjae Spears. Tyjae Spears, both guys that are great runners, quick, elusive, they can get out of the backfield, really good with their hands, really good receivers. And it really jumps out on tape. His playmaking ability is marked by his hyper efficiency and ability to turn any play into a touchdown. He does exhibit elite speed for his position, which contributes to his explosiveness, very quick acceleration as well, and he's also able to maintain the speed, given his size, making him a challenge for defenders to take down. He demonstrates competitiveness and determination and will always fight for extra yards. He has really good vision when it comes to identifying running lanes and paired with the agility to reach them. And he's also very decisive. And when he's able to make that move and make the right read, it often leads to significant gains. He's very well suited for an outside zone or a gap scheme due to his quick edge reaching speed. And of course, his receiving capability. He can run almost all the routes in the route tree, whether in the backfield, working in the slot, and of course, his soft hands. But some of his weaknesses, his frame, definitely worries me with his ability to carry a workload for an offense without losing speed. And something too, he kind of plays hero ball for running back. While he is very decisive in the lanes and he decides, once he has something, he gets it and it works. The problem is sometimes he tends to bail out and definitely shows that he's more of an undisciplined player in that regard. And when it comes to gaining speed, once he has it, he doesn't really have the gear to really slow down. So if he has a guy coming in the open field, it's going to be hard for him to slow down and make a guy miss if he needs to. So it really inhibits his ability to quickly change direction. His receiving skills are really good, but also I wish I would have saw more. It was mostly just short passes, screens. So while he was very productive in the running game and what we saw was good, I wish I saw personally more variety of routes where we could really get a better idea of what his full capabilities as a receiver are. And as a pass blocker, he's just not good. I don't know if it's because of experience or something different, but that's just something that he's going to need to work on, and it's going to limit his ability on third down. And if you're a back that's on third down, and you can't pass protect and catch out of the backfield, that's an element that can make your offense very predictable. So he definitely needs to get that put together if he wants to be an every down back in the NFL, and definitely keep defenses guessing. Another guy here who I think honestly he's going to go in the high third round. He could go in the late second. It would not surprise me, even though he's the fifth best back on the board on my list. It would not surprise me if maybe he was the third back, just because that ability to catch out of the backfield is so good from what we've seen, and it's better than anybody else in the class. So I think he's a guy who can go with the passing offense and contribute right away. Very similar to like a Tajay Spears, who had a few hundred yards out of the backfield, but will make plays and will make people miss. Very flashy. He's a very electric player. Moving onward, we have Trey Benson out of FSU, 6 foot, 216 pounds, 21 years old. Last year, he had 900 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5.8 yards per carry. Excuse me. Trey Benson stands out as a robust, explosive running back with the essential traits of a running back one at the next level. His 6 foot, 220 pound frame complements his aggressive running style, enabling him to shrug off tackles with ease and constantly gain extra yards. Benson's athletic prowess is not just limited to power running, he also displays significant speed and agility for his size, crucial for breaking through the line. While there are areas for improvement, most notably in pass protection, his experience is minimal there, and his skills are very unpolished. But his blend of toughness, explosiveness, and ongoing refinement in his running skills positions him as a potential playmaker in the game. If he's utilized as a workhorse, I see him being a consistent 1,000-yard rusher. The thing I really like about Trey Benson is like I just talked about. He has a very good blend of size, aggression, and speed. In terms of being a runner, it's very debatable that he's the most complete runner in this class, in my opinion. Very good, and definitely has one of the higher ceilings, I believe, as well. Some of his strengths here, I really like his long speed. It's very good. Constantly finds extra gears to outpace defenders. The burst and acceleration, especially in the downhill runs, is good too. But his strength and his balance, and he uses his thicker frame to run aggressively. And when it comes to his vision, consistently you can see that he got better at it every year he was in college, especially these past couple years as a starter at Florida State. His abilities as a pass catcher are pretty good too. They're very underrated in my opinion. I would like it to be used more a little bit, but at the same time, he's not going to be a guy that's going to catch a whole bunch out of the backfield. He is definitely more one of the pure runners in this class. But his receiving, he looks like a natural out there. He does look like a natural as a receiver, which is really fun to watch. Of course, the downhill speed capabilities and the lateral agility to evade defenders as well. And also, he seems to exhibit an improved understanding of angles and block following. And he has good hands, not great. By the way, some of his weaknesses, limited hip flexibility. It affects his ability to maneuver in open spaces. So when he gets really going downhill and making defenders miss, he kind of has to stick to his gun a little bit, almost. And because of this, it makes him often seeking for contact, which will lead to a potential overexposure for hits. And of course, in pass protection, needs some work, like a whole bunch of running backs in this class. It's below average. And when it comes to running routes at the NFL level, may not be as effective as routes in the NFL, of course, more complex. Offenses are more complex. So that's a game he's going to have to elevate once he gets to the pro level. And one thing that really bothers me, it has to be mentioned, it's his injury history. It needs to be checked out. If I remember, I think he was clean at the combine, I'm pretty sure. But he tore his anterior circulate ligament, medial collateral ligament, lateral meniscus, medial meniscus, and another tendon. So a lot of tendons, a lot of essential parts to your body that really help with your running ability. And I think this might contribute to why he doesn't have very much hip flexibility. I mean, obviously, a lot of it stuff has to do. I think the meniscus is in your knee. Something I think. I don't know. The anatomy of the human body is not very. I'm not extremely familiar with the human body. Anatomy of the human body. Oh my God, Jesus Christ. But I think that could be an explanation. And so because it helps because the limited hip flexibility limits his ability to shift and avoid defenders, I think those might go hand in hand, but I could be wrong. And for me, I think he's going to go to about the mid third round, probably high third on the lower end, but more than likely I think mid third round. And I think he's a team, any team can draft him. I think he'd be a fit anywhere, honestly. All right. We got into the top 3. And we got Blake Corum out of Michigan. Love this guy. 5'8", 205 pounds, 23 years old. Had 1,111 yards last year. 25 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per carry. And while I don't think he's the best running back in this class, he's definitely my favorite. Blake Corum exhibits a rare combination of short area burst, twitchy lateral movement, and a very low center of gravity that's sure to give defenders fits at the next level. His ability to deliver punishing runs while simultaneously spotting and exploiting opportunities for chunk gains speaks volumes about his vision and his footwork. He is very well polished. While he isn't your every down back, Blake Corum's skill set ensures that he is the guy that you want for pivotal plays, whether that's grinding out tough yardage at the end of a game or capitalizing on a gap in the defensive line. And his tape does not lie among his draft class. He stands out as a top-tier pure runner. What jumps off on the film is his consistent blend of football IQ, vision, patient yet decisive running, pinpoint footwork, and unmatched acceleration. These traits, combined with his unyielding toughness, enabled him to amass significant yardage between the tackles before his unfortunate injury set in. Given the tangible skill set Blake Corum brings to the table, it's hard to envision a scenario where he doesn't get picked up by the close of the draft second day. While teams might be cautious due to his knee injury, Corum's inherent abilities, if used correctly, suggest a very productive NFL career. So some of his strengths, he is a gym guy. He had 30 reps at 225 at the combine. His 3-cone and shuttle times underline a rare combo of power and twitch, in my opinion. I saw that. He shows an innate feel for the game, presses at the line of scrimmage effectively, and frequently gets to the second level with nuanced vision. Slippery in tight spaces. Utilizes jump cuts and stick and move agility to shake tacklers and find daylight. And his plug-and-play versatility is very good. He's fluid in both zone and power schemes. He's flashing an adaptability for offensive coordinators to capitalize on. His leg turn and pad level are on point, exactly where you want them to be. Often makes the first tackler miss and can drop his shoulder to finish runs. Compact but stout frame makes him a challenge in open space. Defenders often resort to arm tackles, which he consistently runs through. And then his home run ability. He can hit a hole with a burst and has the juice to stack yards and trunks, forcing safeties to take bad angles. And don't sleep on his size. Although he's not 6 foot, he's pound for pound explosiveness, and his wiggle can provide mismatch opportunities at the next level. And when it comes to his weaknesses, of course, it's the durability. While he didn't have a whole ton of carries in college, in 2022 he had a season-ending knee injury. Teams may shy away from viewing him as a bell cow back because of that. But as long as he can stay healthy, I think being an every down bat, or not every down, but being a workhorse, carry the ball 20, 30 times, I definitely see that being in Blake Corum's future as a pro. And his pass protection is a chink in the armor. While he showcases a favorable low center of gravity, when it comes to picking up a blitz, it just doesn't translate well. And he needs to sharpen his football IQ in that area to score up properly against savvy NFL linebackers and defensive ends in protection schemes. And when it comes to his receiving ability, it needs some fine-tuning to become a more genuine dual threat. His route tree needs to be expanded, extending beyond just the flats and check down areas. He has some focus drops as well, especially last year. So especially like on third down situations, he needs to clean that up. And while he boasts a compact and stout frame, he doesn't bring that oomph as a runner as much as I'd want to. He lacks that hammering power in goal line stands. Questions loom about his home run capability given the absence of elite breakaway speed, hinting at a potential Kabini back roll at the pro level. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. Because of how decisive he is and how polished he is as an athlete and as a running back, I think he can definitely become a guy that can just backbreak a defense. It's not going to be as explosive compared. Actually, it's not be as fast and as like flash and explosive compared to maybe MarShawn Lloyd or Bucky Irving. But I mean, straight up, Blake Corum is the most polished runner in this draft. And it would not surprise me if he ended up being the best. I think he's going to end up in the late second round, although it would not surprise me if he went in the mid-second round. Anywhere in the second will be a good fit for him. And his best fits, just like with most running backs here, any team. Because running backs are much more plug-and-play. Well, they're more plug-and-play than they ever have been. Definitely more running backs can go to more situations and play compared to where some teams, like some backs, they can only fit in certain situations. More and more backs are able to fit in more and more offenses, and Blake Corum is no different. Getting in here to number 2, Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. 5'10", 210 pounds, 20 years old, had 1,013 yards last year, only 4 rushing touchdowns, but 7.4 yards per carry. Definitely a guy who makes the most out of his opportunities. He's a very dynamic running back prospect who brings a compelling mix of speed, agility, and football acumen to the table, positioning him as a standout player in this draft class. His tape from Tennessee showcases a player with elite long speed and the ability to turn routine plays into touchdowns, making him a constant threat on the ground. His versatility shines through his ability to contribute both in the running and passing game, and demonstrating an adeptness for catching out of the backfield and providing solid pass protection. However, his game does come with areas ripe for development. His lateral agility and initial explosion off the snap are points of concern as they limit his effectiveness in eluding defenders in the backfield and at the line of scrimmage. Furthermore, his ability to generate yards after contact and refine his route running are aspects that will require more attention at the next level. Despite these areas for improvement, Wright's overall skill set, including his vision, patience, and competitive toughness, underscores a player with the highest ceiling in the NFL. His transition to the professional game will be eagerly watched by scouts and coaches alike. His ability to immediately contribute as a change of pace back, coupled with a potential for development into a primary and high-octane offense, makes him an enticing option for teams seeking versatility and playmaking ability in their backfield. Wright's collegiate production, highlighted by impressive yardage and scoring plays, hints at a player ready to make an immediate impact for me. Another guy here, kind of like Blake Corum, where he's not as polished of a player, but he's a very dynamic athlete and will definitely be a day one, I should say, maybe day one. Maybe he could be a day one starter. Could be. But there's no doubt that he's going to be one of the running back. He's going to be one of the best rookie running backs this season, I believe. Not will, can. He can be one of the best rookie running backs in the NFL this season. I'm still working on breaking that habit. But as we get to more of his specific strengths, he runs with violence. He's capable of thrashing through tacklers, and he has the natural balance to withstand the contact. With that, he keeps his pads low and consistently falls forward. Unlike most backs that are his size, he has a lateral movement that stops and stop-start ability to make defenders miss. And he has breakaway speed in the open field. Scroll down here. He exhibits the patience and decisiveness that allows blocks to develop properly before hitting the holes with explosive speed. We already talked about his ability to get low, and he rarely absorbs that significant contact. And he shows a very nice blend of quickness and patience, maximizing his offensive line's blocking ability, his proven receiving threat out of the backfield, and he's a natural playmaker at his best with the ball in his hands. His vision, like we talked about, shows good vision, very good explosion upfield once he plants his foot. Wright has lateral movement skills and has enough speed to threaten big plays. And he's very excellent in the passing game, capable of flexing out as a receiver at times and create mismatches against linebackers, and he is a solid back in the screen game. He also displays, of course, the burst and acceleration, capable of outrunning defensive angles, and I think he fits more of a zone system. He can sift through oncoming traffic and explode through tiny creases and cutback lanes. Elite darting stop-and-go acceleration, dangerous in the open field. Now, despite his violent play style, he does have a slider build, especially for a back. He's not going to ground out yards between the tackles. Like, even though he fights with violence, he's not going to be a power back. And he runs with a very high pad level. It's very inconsistent with how high or low his pads can get. And his frame is also a little leaner, which lacks the ideal bulk or muscle for the position. So his strength is not great and is lacking in power. He does struggle because of this, he struggles with yards after contact against more physical defenders. And while he's a good player out of the backfield, his route running does need to be refined in order to fully exploit his ability to catch the ball. And sometimes he'll occasionally miss opportunities for cutback lanes, which will affect his play diversity. And I think he's going to go in the second round for sure. Probably high second round if I had to guess. And for Fitz, like we talked about all episode long, any team that can plug him in and play, he's going to make an immediate impact for, in my opinion. And now we get to our last guy, Jonathon Brooks out of Texas. 6 foot, 216 pounds, 20 years old. Last year had 1,139 yards, 10 touchdowns, 6.1 yards per carry. He is the gem of this 2024 draft. His evolution from a do-it-all high school athlete to a key contributor at Texas showcases his grit and versatility. On the field, Brooks is a threat with his quick cuts and ability to hit the hole hard. He's not just a ground and pound back. His hands and route running make him a legit weapon in the passing game. That dual threat capacity is a big plus in today's NFL, where versatility out of the backfield is gold. His rise as a primary back is a double-edged sword for scouts. Sure, he hasn't taken the beating of a workhorse back, which suggests that he's got plenty of tread left on the tires. But on the flip side, we've got a limited look at him against top-tier college defenses. That leaves some question marks of how he'll handle the setup in the NFL. Teams are going to have to balance his obvious talents and potential against the need for a larger body of work at a high level. In the end, he's a back with a ton of upside, probably the highest in the class. It is the highest in the class, actually. I'll stand on that. He's a fit for various offensive schemes, able to zip through zones and bulldoze in power runs. For NFL teams hunting for a back who can mix it up both on the ground and in the air, Brooks is a solid bet. His trajectory at Texas, capped off with a standout season, paints the picture of a player who's just getting started and can make some serious waves in the NFL. Getting into these specific strengths, light, sudden feet, excellent start and stop ability, enables him to deftly manipulate oncoming tacklers, exhibits impressive contact balance and ability to contort away from tackles, making him a challenge to contain. Displays growing confidence in his ability to tackle. I guess to evade tacklers. I don't know what I was saying there right when I was writing that out. Contributing to his status as one of the most elusive backs in college football. sells play action very well, shows very deep knowledge of offensive schemes as well, and as a receiver, very clean hands, aggressive catch radius, and can make off-target receptions as well. His agility and vision make him a consistent threat, particularly when getting outside against defensive backs. And Brooks has shown all the versatility and foot speed necessary for zone concepts and the physicality for downhill running in a vertical scheme. His weaknesses, of course, the sample size is very limited, and occasionally he will make questionable decisions in the backfield, opting for a riskier, more explosive play, and sometimes it backfires. And he does lack the elite open field running ability to consistently turn small gaps into home run hits. And because of the limited experience, may just require more experience and reps to refine decision making and maximize his cutback abilities. And his performance must be contextualized within the talent-rich Texas offense, which did not see a lot of adversity. But I think Jonathon Brooks is going to go high second. I don't want to say he'll go in the first because you don't draft a running back in the first round anymore. But if he came into the NFL 5 years ago, he would have been a first round pick. Even if let's say they switched, let's say him and Bijan Robinson switched, he probably would have gone in the first round last year. I believe that. It's very possible. He is probably the most complete back in this draft class who can quite literally fit any scheme. He has the explosiveness and the speed to go with zone schemes, gap schemes, and also can be a power runner as well. And that makes him the best running back in the draft, in my opinion. So there you have it. And I didn't talk about it earlier, but I was going to do like a UFL preview, talking about all the new rules and stuff, but I realized that's weeks old. That's old news. People probably already know about this. So we're just going to take a couple minutes, and I'm just going to talk about all the matchups and just pick a winner. Because the UFL is starting up this week, and I will be watching it. It'll be very exciting to have a new spring football back. So our first game this upcoming Saturday, the Stallions at the Arlington Renegades, 1 o'clock on Fox. And I got the Stallions winning this one. The Birmingham Stallions were the best team in the USFL. Would not surprise me, the Arlington Renegades, because they were the XFL champion, but they had a losing record going into the playoffs. Whatever. I think the Stallions are a better football team. St. Louis Battlehawks at Michigan Panthers are the second game. St. Louis Battlehawks at the Michigan Panthers, 4 o'clock, also on Fox. I think the Battlehawks are winning this as well. I think they're a better team. As long as the Michigan Panthers have been in the USFL, they've been garbage, while the Battlehawks have consistently been very good. And then on Sunday, the DC Defenders at San Antonio Brahmas at noon on ESPN. DC Defenders, same reason for the Birmingham Stallions. When they were in the USFL, they were good. I don't know. Was the DC Defenders the XFL? May have been XFL, I think. Either way, DC Defenders, they were very good. I expect them to win this game. And then the Memphis Showboats at Houston Roughnecks at 3 o'clock on ESPN. Houston Roughnecks, another reason they're a really good team. Well, the Memphis Showboats last year were pretty bad. But that's just going to do it. That's going to do it for me today. We covered my top 10 running backs in the NFL draft. And talked a little bit about the UFL. And hope you guys enjoy the graphics that pop up in the video when it's up. And I hope that it makes a better watching experience for those that enjoy that. And that's going to do it for me. I got a Shumake Take rant going up tomorrow. And we're going to be talking about college football and loyalty being dead. So stay tuned and stick around for that. I will see you tomorrow. And you all have a great night. See you in the next one.